Hi everyone. So this is going to be the first of a series of videos that I will release demonstrating some of the Buzz Lightyears I've modified in my collection. The way I plan to do this is the first few videos are going to be finished products, so buzzes that I've already performed the modifications on, and then at some point I do plan to release videos actually showing me doing the work, so you all can see the amount of work that goes into some of these, and then I wouldn't say difficulty, but tediousness rather. At some point I also plan to release a video that shows my entire collection all in once, but that's a later video. Showing all of the modded buzzes in one video would simply take too long. It would be a very long video, and even with only showing one buzz per video, I think the videos are still going to be a little lengthy, so please bear with me. This first buzz that I'm going to show is going to be a combination buzz, and I've got a couple of those in my collection. And what I mean by combination buzz is I've taken two different models of Thinkway Buzz Lightyears and combined them into one, so he has all of the features of each of those Buzz Lightyears together. One of my favorite Thinkway Buzz Lightyears to use for modifications, specifically combination mods, is the drop-down action buzz, and the reason is because of the Toy Story 4 era releases, he's the only buzz that has any noteworthy features. And his head moves, he has some interactive functions where you can talk to him. He does the drop-down feature, obviously. He has wings, but he does have very limited posability, and he is missing a number of features that are important to a Buzz Lightyear, which I think is what makes him great for modding, because he has potential. The other Buzz Lightyear for this first video that goes into this combination buzz is a Power Projector Buzz. And I just thought he was a neat buzz when he came out. The green helmet was neat, and then the fact that he has an accessory that comes with him, and even cooler than that is he actually has a game that you can play, so it's way more interactive than just pushing buttons. What I'm going to do is show the stock version of each of those Buzz Lightyears, demonstrate their posability and their features before I show the modified buzz. I'm going to start with the Power Projector Buzz. And as I said, posability and features for each. So the posability of the Power Projector Buzz sits somewhere between a standard Buzz Lightyear and a collection Buzz Lightyear. And if you wonder what I mean by a standard Buzz Lightyear, I mean this guy. So his shoulders can move and rotate as they should. Comparing him to some of the Toy Story 4 releases, you know that they have very limited posability, and their shoulders only move and they only spin, basically, they only rotate. The reason why I say he also sits between that standard Buzz and a collection Buzz is because he has additional posability that the standard Buzz does not. He can rotate at the elbow joints for his forearms, and he can also rotate at the knee joints, which I'll show. So I'll start from the top and go down. So he has a green helmet, which is one of the telltale signs that he is a Power Projector Buzz. The helmet does open and close. His head rotates both directions. It does have 3 locking points, which there's one straight ahead, one to the left, one to the right. His head will go beyond those. I believe it'll go all the way around, but I don't typically do that because I'm not Sid. His shoulder joints are typical Buzz. They can move up and down and rotate. The elbow joints, like I said, are a little bit better than a standard Buzz. They do bend like a standard Buzz, but they also rotate. His right hand is unique to Power Projector and Power Blaster Buzz. So both of those models have this same exact hand mold. It's molded together in this open fist, so he can hold either his Power Projector, or for the Power Blaster, hold his Power Blaster. If you look at his hand right here at the beginning of the fingers towards the palm, there's a little tab in there. That tab interfaces with the slot in the handle of the Power Projector or Power Blaster, depending on which model, so we can actually hold it. Other than that, It rotates at the wrist, but none of the fingers are posable. His left hand also rotates at the wrist. His fingers do bend. They are all molded together. So unlike the collection series where they're individually articulating, these are all molded together, which is basically like a standard Buzz. His waist does rotate, but it does have 2 stopping points, so it's limited rotation. That may be due to the fact that there is a switch on his waist in the back, which you can't see right now because of the poor lighting, which is something I need to upgrade. The switch has off, try me, and play. His legs are a bit better in posability than a standard Buzz, but not quite as good as a collection Buzz. For his hip joints, they are ball joints, so it moves in basically any direction. He does have ratcheting knee joints, and they do rotate, which is the additional posability over a standard Buzz. He does have a ratcheting ankle joint. If this were a collection Buzz, the feet also can move side to side, but this one does not do that. He does have wings. Pressing the button on his chest will pop his wings out. He has standard Thinkway wings. They're good wings. One thing to note is that the Danger jet exhaust and this turbine sticker do not come on this model. I added those because I think it looks better without it. His jetpack cover here is unique to this Buzz, and it has 2 slots with little locking rings in there that you can attach his power projector so you can store it on his back. And then as far as features, he does have a laser, as a Buzz Lightyear should. He does talk.
Intergalactic emergency. Buzz Lightyear to the rescue.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Buzz Lightyear reporting for duty.
So although you can press all 3 chest buttons, I think an important thing to note, and this is important because of the modifications that I performed on the other Buzz, although there are actually 3 buttons, there are actually only 2. And what I mean by that is, so the PCB, printed circuit board, the circuit board behind his buttons only has contact points for 2 buttons. And depending on the model of Buzz, it could be either the red and green or the green and blue that are bridged together. For this model, it's the red and the green, so they're bridged together. Pressing either of these 2 presses the same button, and then pressing the blue button is its own button. Even with those actually being separate buttons, they still perform the same function. So if you were to press the blue button over and over and over again, he'll cycle through his phrases. Pressing the red button cycles through the exact same phrases in the exact same sequence. The only difference is if you press one or the other, all it will do is change where in the sequence it starts the phrases. So it sort of mixes the phrases slightly, only if you press the button though. But if you just keep pressing it, again, it cycles in the same way. He has this small port on his right side. This is also something present on the Power Blaster Buzz, and that's where either the power projector or the power blaster will plug in and interface. It basically looks like a 2.5mm audio jack. So that's where he plugs in. This is like a 4-pole jack, so that's to facilitate his lights and sound. Plugging it in.
You found my power projector. Thanks.
Once you plug it in, he'll have some unique phrases.
Time to fire up the power projector.
And sounds and lights based on him having the power projector connected. And now if you hit his laser button, instead of it just being his laser on his arm that lights up, it's the power projector. So you get a unique sound effect for that, and you also get a little LED, sort of a projected reticle from the LED that's in the shape of a bullseye. I'm not sure if that was intentionally like that, but if you look at some LEDs, they just sort of have that pattern at the end of it as a result of their shape. And I'm not sure if the bullseye pattern was intentional. So what you have here is you have a single LED here. That's what lights up red. And then above that you have the projector. All the projector is a bright LED behind a screen printed image of Zurg. And the way this works is if you want to enter into the game mode, you'll hold down one of his chest buttons until it enters the game mode. In the game mode, what will happen is it will project an image of Zurg, and you basically have to hit his laser button and shoot Zurg while he is being projected. And the amount of time he spends projected, so when he flashes, can change. So he'll be there for a little longer or shorter duration. You may hit him or you may miss him. You have 10 total shots per game, and you can use them all up before Zurg even shows up 10 times. So if you start the game and just spam the button, you'll lose. Also, if you miss Zurg, you'll lose. And what I mean by miss him is you have to hit him 3 times to win the game. So I'll show you how that works.
My sensors indicate Zurg is somewhere nearby. Stay with me. I'll protect you. Buzz Lightyear standing down.
So I know you couldn't see the image of Zurg. It basically just showed up as probably a little white blur down here because I had the power blaster so close to the surface. But you understand the point of the power blaster and what it can do. And that's basically all I wanted to do, was demonstrate it. So this is one of the 2 Buzz Lightyears that is part of my modded Buzz. That is the drop-down action Buzz. This is the other Buzz that I used in this combination Buzz. He was released later in Thinkway's line, so I'm not sure if it was a Toy Story 4 release. I believe it was. I don't still have the packaging, and I'm not necessarily an expert on the exact time frame when these were released. He released at a retail price of $69.99, so he was not cheap. He was not cheap, especially compared to the Toy Story 4, other Toy Story 4 releases. And then when you consider the fact that in 2009, when they released the first signature collection, the first collection Buzz, Toy Story collection Buzz, which was the cloud logo, it was $65. I remember that because I saw it at Toys R Us and I bought one. So this guy was released at a higher price than the signature collection Buzz. The collection Buzz. The signature collection Buzz, which was released around the same time frame as this guy, retailed for $99.99, so $100. Inflation and all that. But anyway, he does have some interactive features. I'll go over posability first. His helmet does open and close. You can, if you want, to rotate his head sort of, but he will just snap back to this default forward position because his head is connected to a motor and gearbox. If you've never seen the inside of a drop-down Buzz, there is very little room for anything else other than what is inside. And inside of him, there is one motor. It's the same motor that drives the head motor for the Signature Collection Buzz. There's one motor that drives a fairly complex gearbox that facilitates both head movement and his waist kicking back. And in the later videos, when I modify other Buzz Lightyears, you'll get to see that. I do have some photos that I took of the gearbox taken apart, but that's another story. He does have the proper paint in the areas that he should, despite his lack of posability, which I'll show. His shoulder joints only rotate. They do not move up and down. So rather than having a spherical shoulder joint like this, he has the semi-sphere shoulder joint like this. His elbows do bend. There is no laser. At the very least bothered to paint the area where there should be. His wrists do rotate. His fingers do not move, so his hands have no posability. At least they're painted like they should be. Obviously, his waist has some posability, I suppose. It kicks back. It does rotate, but it's limited. It stops here and there. Excuse me. So the rubber they use for this is much softer and more pliable than the rubber they use for the collection Buzz Lightyear, and obviously that's so it doesn't hinder his drop-down action. He does talk, which I'll go over shortly. The wing button does not function. His legs are basically just like any of the other Toy Story 4 releases where they have no posability. So there's no hip joints, there's no knee joints, so they at least bothered to paint the back of the fake knee joint. There are no ankle joints, it's just molded. They at least bothered to paint the back of the boots. For this Buzz, it sort of makes sense to have these fixed legs, and that's because a lot of the people who will buy these or play with them are going to be children, and you want a stable and repeatable platform to facilitate his drop-down function, because if you pose him in a way that sets him too far forward, he may not drop down, and so that's probably why they bothered to do this. He can work with posable legs, as you'll see later. He does have an on and off switch located in the same position as a collection Buzz. I'll get to that in a moment. If you look at the back of him, his jetpack cover is unique to the drop-down Buzz. And if you look, you see that these green portions, as well as the entire turbine housing, and then there's a couple of protrusions here where the danger jet exhaust stickers should be. All of this is a very dense, hard rubber. So it's not plastic, like that's plastic. This is a very dense rubber. Obviously that's to provide some cushion for when he does his drop-down feature. If you pop off the jetpack cover, you'll also notice some additional features in here. I don't know if these are, you would consider them features necessarily, but there's this little spring-loaded like a tab that sticks out. Basically what that does is sits against this additional material that's on his battery cover, and that's so when his wings are open, it supports his jetpack cover so it doesn't pop off when he does the whole drop-down thing. Obviously you can see he has wings. His wings are very similar to standard Thinkway wings. They're more like the cheaper Thinkway Buzzes, where the red and white stripes are actually stickers rather than being painted on. But I've mentioned before, I kind of like the stickers because they don't show the seam up here. Like I said, they're manual. They don't have lights, but he at least has wings. So now I'm going to go over his features. So he has, like I said, a switch that has try me, off, and play. Put him in play. He has two modes, one of which is like a toy mode, and the other is his interactive mode, which he can do his whole drop back thing and his head moves. You talk to him and you speak specific phrases, and he'll do specific things based on those phrases. One thing to note about that is his microphone placement is horrible. This giant hole near the center of his chest is where the microphone is. So to give context to that, the collection series Buzz Lightyears also have a microphone, but they put them in the bottom down here with a hole for it instead of in the center of his chest up here, which I think is just horrible. That looks horrible. I don't know why they did that. I guess maybe because they used a less sensitive microphone, but I found a way to fix that as well on my other Buzz, which you'll see. So first mode is toy mode.
I am Buzz Lightyear. I come in peace.
And that is activated with the blue button. So on this model, the red and green button are bridged together. So again, like the other, there's only two buttons in these guys, despite the fact that there are three actual chest buttons. Hitting the green button or the red button puts him in his interactive mode.
Hello, buddy.
Now this is where you can speak phrases and he'll perform some of his functions, his head moves, waist bends. The 4 phrases, before I speak those, I'm going to turn him back off so he doesn't go nuts. 4 phrases that he responds to is, hello buddy, someone's coming, quiet, go to sleep, and no one's here. Depending which of those phrases you speak will determine what action he does. So if you say something to the collection buzz while he has his microphone active, he basically just responds with any of his phrases. He doesn't respond to a specific spoken phrase like an instruction. It's just a loud noise prompts him to say something. Depending on how loud the noise is, may prompt him to say something specific. However, though, if you yell at him, he'll say, no need to yell or something like that. With this buzz, he doesn't respond to just anything. It has to be those 4 specific phrases. So I'll go over those now.
Hello, buddy.
Hello, buddy.
Greetings, my friend.
Someone's coming.
Okay, got it.
So when you say that, obviously you see he falls down. If you say something like that again, or the quiet phrase, he'll whisper back to you, staying in his toy mode. Someone's coming.
Got it, thanks.
Head doesn't move, waist doesn't move. You press any of his chest buttons, now it's all toy mode.
I am Buzz Lightyear. I come in peace. I protect the galaxy from the threat of invasion.
And he'll stay in this mode, whether he's laying down or upright, until you speak a specific phrase which wakes him out of that mode, which is, no one's here.
Phew, that was a close one. Would you mind helping me up?
Now you can see that he asked to be helped up, and that's because he does have a tip sensor. Same as the collection buzz, although it functions in a different way. His tip sensor functions to determine whether he's on the ground or standing up.
Thanks. It is great to see you, my friend.
Where the collection buzz, it is for his flying mode and his interactive mode. So that's basically all he does, and you can
To infinity and beyond.
do this as many times as you want. And although it's kind of a gimmicky feature and it's really his only feature, it's still fairly neat, I think. And turn him off so he doesn't go nuts in the background. And then finally, mine, the modded Buzz, this guy. So immediately one thing that you'll notice is that I used the helmet from a Power Projector Buzz. So for me, he's sort of like a Power Projector Buzz with hidden drop-down features. And he's a combination of parts from each of those. I'm going to go over what parts came from where, and then I'll go over his features. One thing that you might notice immediately is the shoulder joints are offset out from his body a little further than these, like the standard Buzz, and that is because his original shoulder joints were designed to use these semi-sphere flat shoulder joints. So there was a lot of material that needed to be removed to make room for a spherical joint. That was a pain, and if I removed any more material, it might not function the way I wanted it to. And for me, that looks acceptable, so I left it as is. Posability. So his helmet opens as it should. His head does turn manually if you really want to, but again, it's connected to a gearbox with a motor. Shoulder joints are fully functional, like I said, despite the fact that he was never designed to do that. These arms articulate just the same as they do on the Power Projector Buzz because they are Power Projector Buzz arms. And I suppose rather than going through his articulation, it might be easier just to point out which components are from which Buzz. The helmet, obviously Power Projector. So basically from this point up to his head, that's all drop-down Buzz. So the chest, the rear part of his torso, his wings, his jetpack cover, all drop down. The arms are from the Power Projector Buzz, and the waist down, the legs are from Power Projector Buzz. And this is a good example of the fact that you can still have a drop-down Buzz with posable legs. One thing you're also going to notice is that there's no ugly hole in his chest, but he does still have his microphone, and it does still function, and I'll show where that is later. So firstly, his features. I'm going to go through his features the same as I did the other ones in the same order. So it'll be his power projector features, and then his drop-down features. Now, we already saw those features in the others, but this is just to demonstrate all in one buzz. And the way I was able to do some of these things, so the chest buttons, for example, as I said, the drop-down buzz only has 2 buttons, and it was the green and red that were bridged with the blue button being separated. So what I did was I took the plastic bridge that's on the back of these 2 buttons, and I basically just cut it in half and modified it a little bit so that the green button can still press the button that these 2 are bridged together with, and then the blue button remains unchanged. Now, between the PCB and this red button, I put a tiny little momentary button and soldered wires to it, and then ran it to the electronics for the Power Projector Buzz. And his main circuit board, well, the Power Projector Buzz's circuit board, is in the back of this buzz. And what I mean in the back is it sits between the inside of the battery pack and his drop-down mechanism that's in there. And some material had to be removed in order to get that PCB to fit between those 2 areas. There's very limited space in there. So this is how that functions.
Space Rangers protect the galaxy from the evil Emperor Zurg. Will you join us in the fight against evil? I'm sure you'll make a great Space Ranger. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. Say, Cadet, how about a little target practice? Have you seen my power projector? I'm sure I had it here somewhere.
Laser works. So that's immediately one neat thing, is that it's a drop-down torso, but a working laser. And his left arm, like I said, it's from the Power Projector Buzz. I showed you the legs are from the Power Projector Buzz. So getting this port in this torso of this Buzz was a lot of work. And that's because if you look on the side, that's a speaker grill. So there's no speaker in the front of this Buzz like on a standard Buzz where you see those speaker grills. And that is because there's no room to be able to fit a speaker in this part of his chest cavity, because that's where some of the drop-down mechanism is. So to get this to fit near that speaker was quite a pain, but it does work, and I will show that.
You found my power projector. Thanks. Take it from me. Zurg is no match for my power projector. Buzz Lightyear standing down.
So that is the power projector features, and then his drop-down features all still function as they should.
I am Buzz Lightyear. I come in peace.
That's his toy mode.
Hello, buddy.
Here's his interactive mode. I'm going to bring him forward so he does his drop-down thing. Hello, buddy.
Greetings, my friend.
So his head is a little bit locked up, I suppose. It's not locked up, it still moves, but I think it needs to be adjusted. So I'll do his drop-down function. Someone's coming.
Okay, got it.
Now, if you've noticed, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little hole that I drilled right here in the bottom of his chest. That hole is where I relocated his microphone. And honestly, it works just as well as, if maybe not better in some cases, than the original location. No one's here.
Phew, that was a close one. Would you mind helping me up? Thanks. It is great to see you, my friend.
Dip sensor still works as it should. All of his electronics for both Buzz Lightyears do work as they should. The wings are still manual wings. So like I said, they're from the drop-down Buzz. I am looking into creating a mechanism that will allow me to install automatic wings like a normal Buzz. So that means modifying the barrel hinges here. On this Buzz and any other Buzz that doesn't have wings, there's really no springs up here. This does have a barrel hinge. It's just not a sprung barrel hinge like the others. That won't be a big deal, getting the spring in there, but what will be is trying to find a way to get the rest of the mechanism, the locking mechanism specifically, to function. So this is the inside of a Buzz. You can see one of his locking tabs on the barrel joint, or I'm sorry, the barrel hinge is missing, but these two blocks are what the wings actually lock onto when they're open, or I'm sorry, when they're closed. And then when you press his red button, it basically presses on these locking blocks. There's a single spring in the center there with these two angled protrusions. I guess I need better lighting, but that just pinches them together, allowing the wings to release. That will not fit in that Buzz because of the drop-down mechanism, but there are other things that I'm looking at to make that work. So that may come in a later video. But anyway, so that's the first of my modified Buzz Lightyears that I wanted to show off. I know this was a long video, and I apologize for that, but I hope you liked it. If you did, please subscribe, comment, tell me what you think, and I do plan to release videos in quick succession. So hopefully at least 2 or 3 a week, maybe more than that. That just depends on my work. All right, thanks for watching.